Hey guys, and welcome back to another NBA offseason review. Today we are doing the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, losing LeBron James is going to kill any team's offseason grade. So we're basically going to look at the Cavs offseason, excluding the loss of LeBron James. So let's take a look at the moves made by Koby Altman this offseason. The big one that came up first is the Brooklyn Nets pick. They got that Brooklyn Nets pick in the trade that sent Kyrie Irving to Boston and what landed Isaiah Thomas to Cleveland, to LA, to Denver. But what they got out of that trade was this 8th pick from the Brooklyn Nets, originally from that Boston deal. And they got Collin Sexton at the 8th overall pick, former McDonald's All-American. He was second team All-SEC this past season at Alabama. He's 6'2", 185 pounds, played under Avery Johnson. So he's getting that NBA level pedigree and coaching before he's even stepped foot on an NBA court for the first time. 6'2", 6'6" wingspan, so pretty long, decent size for a guard. He may need to bulk up to deal with some of the other big guards that are pretty rampant in the NBA today. He averaged 19 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists for Avery Johnson. He was easily the number one option at Alabama, and they had a mixed record. Questions about the team surrounding Collin Sexton at Alabama, but he really proved that he is one of the better guards in this NBA draft class. The pros I have for Collin Sexton, number one, his incredible explosiveness. He's not, I wouldn't say he's fast like John Wall, but he's explosive like Russell Westbrook. If he turns on the jets, he can get from one end of the court to the other in the blink of an eye. He can get to anywhere he needs to be on the court. He's so powerful when he attacks the basket that a lot of shot blockers may be a little intimidated by his explosiveness and his finishing around the rim. He is an incredible athlete. That's his main draw for his selection. He's an amazing athlete on both ends of the floor. He plays with emotion. Now that can hinder him as well, but he's one of those players that if he gets a couple good plays in a row, that momentum builds so much because he's such an emotional player on the court that momentum is going to carry him, and he can honestly just take over a game if he gets in the right rhythm and the right scoring opportunities come his way. He's one of the better perimeter defenders from the guards in this draft. He's a really good defender on the outside. He can hang with a lot of faster guards. His strength, which I think is a little bit underrated, can really help him bump players off their rolls, and I think he'll be a really good perimeter defender for Cleveland. Another thing is his mentality. Just like his explosiveness, Collin Sexton is a guy that will continue to attack no matter what. He's almost got that Kobe mentality, he doesn't have it, but he's on his way to becoming somewhat of that type of player where if he picks his spots and chooses what shots he wants to shoot, nobody can stop him. He will be able to do whatever he wants on the court. And I think his court vision is also a little bit underrated. He only averaged 4 assists per game, but he's going to have Kevin Love, Kyle Korver, shooters on the outside for Cleveland. Now, the cons for Collin Sexton. His shooting, easily the biggest question mark. He is a streaky shooter. He showed the ability in college to shoot off the dribble. Not sure how good he is as a spot-up shooter. His speed and his explosiveness can make him a little erratic on the fast break. He's turnover prone, and when he gets that head of steam, he sometimes has a little bit trouble controlling himself when he gets up to the rim finishing in traffic. His emotions, as I said, can get the best of him at times. If he gets off tilt a little bit, it may take a little bit for him to maintain the focus and mentality that he needs to be a star NBA player. And his mid-range and floater game. He needs some in-between shots. He can't just attack the rim every single time because there are shot blockers, the Rudy Goberts, the Anthony Davises, that will somewhat negate his ability to attack the rim on the fast break. So overall, he's an extremely solid pick. I really love this pick from Cleveland. Great guard to develop, and they can really build around Collin Sexton for the future. Moving on to the players that Cleveland lost. They're losing Rodney Hood and Jeff Green, if they have re-signed them, they're not really going to make that huge of a difference. Rodney Hood showed some questionable decision making. He got benched during the playoffs, had some decent minutes in the finals, but a lot of questions surrounding him. Jeff Green's a good player, but losing him would not be the end of the world. But pretty much the biggest move this offseason for the Cavs was re-signing Kevin Love. They gave him a 4-year, $120 million extension. Now, I know some people have been critical of this move, but I actually really like it from the Cavaliers' perspective. You're losing LeBron, and you're basically losing your title contention. But in the East, with how depleted it is, you get Collin Sexton, you need a player like Kevin Love, and you can still remain competitive for one of the lower seeds in the Eastern Conference. So you don't establish that losing culture right away. When Kevin Love came to Cleveland, about a couple months later after that trade, which sent Andrew Wiggins to Minnesota, they ended up getting Kevin Love as a side piece to LeBron James. He became a spot-up shooter from three-point land, and he really didn't get the touches that he did in Minnesota. And people forget how great he was in Minnesota. I believe he had a streak of 40 to 45 double-doubles in a row. In Minnesota, he was in the conversation as being one of the best power forwards in the league. I heard at one point, him and Tim Duncan were being talked about as the two best power forwards in the NBA. In Minnesota, in his first 6 years, he averaged 19 and 12, along with 3 assists per game. He was a fantastic three-point shooter, but he was a great post-up player as well. His inside game was fantastic, great offensive rebounder, but becoming with LeBron, your role changes, and I think it's really depleted him. But he signed this extension, and he's going to be the number one option now. Kevin Love I think he's potent for a comeback season. His best year in Minnesota, he averaged 26 and 14. That is incredible. That is MVP caliber numbers right there for a big man. Now, I know a big man probably won't win it, but that's pretty much as close as you can get. He averaged 26 points and 14 rebounds per game. And it's not like that was a fluke season. Within a 3-year stretch, he averaged about 24 and 12, along with a block and a steal per game for the entire season, which makes him possibly one of the best power forwards in the league, along with Anthony Davis, Draymond Green, and any other power forward you can think of. Plus, the Cavs in this signing, they lock in an all-star to help develop Collin Sexton. I'm not looking at this just from the perspective of, we have a player that is our number one option. No, Collin Sexton now has a guy to learn from. Kevin Love has a championship pedigree. He's played with the best player in the world. So that knowledge and knowing the game inside out, the basketball IQ, is really going to help in the development of Collin Sexton. But looking back at this total offseason, if we were including the LeBron James saga and his leaving to LA, of course it would be an F. I mean, anytime you lose a player that great, it's an F. But that was really out of the control of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I'm not going to hold it against them. That was LeBron's decision. Good for him. He's going where he wants to go. I'm not going to hold Cleveland accountable. They offered them more money. He got to stay in Cleveland, but that was LeBron's decision. But looking at the entire offseason, excluding LeBron, there was really very few critiques of this offseason. So I'm going to give it an A-. You hit the lottery on Collin Sexton, 8th overall. There was rumors of him going all the way up to the Magic at 5, I heard at one point. But he can easily be the best guard in this draft. He'll definitely compete with Luka Doncic for one of being the best scoring guard in this draft. But I think his defense and his intensity really sets him apart. The Kevin Love extension, you lock up an all-star for the next 4 years. I know he's going to be 32 by the time that contract ends, but you're still going to have a player that can really help develop a lot of the young players, and specifically Collin Sexton, for the future. Kevin Love is going to get back. I think he's going to have a real bounce-back season. I'm going to be really rooting for him because I think he's gotten a lot of bad press. He's not a good defender, but that's not his game. And in Minnesota, he was not a defender. He was a scoring and rebounding machine. So I think this is a really good season for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Guys, be sure to let me know in the comments section what you thought of the Cavaliers offseason. Love to get your feedback. Thank you all for watching. I believe we are very close to 1,900 subscribers, so I'm very, very thankful for that. Thank you guys so much for the continued support, but I will see you in the next NBA offseason review.